You drank a glass of water. So let's talk a little bit about the X2O, which of course you have already pre-launched that machine last month. We know senior presidentials, executives, and now our senior directors are actually receiving their emails. So we have hundreds and hundreds of people around the United States that are receiving their machines and are so excited. And of course, we have an FAQ. And so we're not going to go over the FAQ. That is in the chat. And my co-hosts are going to drop that in the chat again. If you didn't see the FAQ, it's 11 pages, very thorough, lots of great information. But we do have some questions just in regards to a couple things with the machine. So first off, you did mention in the FAQ the types of water to put into the machine. And it said not to put alkaline. And of course, we know we have the Kangen machine out there, and we have a lot of people that utilize that, or they utilize some other type of alkaline water or hydrogen water bottle or machine. So why, they just want to know why to not put alkaline water into the X2O water machine.
Yeah, the answer is actually really simple. We haven't tested alkaline water with our filter system. If we were to bypass the filters and then put them into the light processing chambers, we could run that test and it's probably compatible. I wouldn't see that there would really be an issue with it. But we're not certain that alkaline water would be okay for the filtration system. We have two separate filters, as you know, in those machines. So we'd rather go the conservative route and just recommend don't use them because we don't know if it would cause any harm.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, one other kind of logistics. So we have been heard, I guess I would say told, but been heard that unadulterated water is structured as H3O2 and not H2O like we've been taught. This is a question from someone in our field. So is that true? And if it is true, does the X2O machine change our H2O water to that?
I'm probably as controversial already without having to get more controversial about the structure of water. What X2O is designed to do, which I think is controversial and not accepted scientifically, but the fact of the matter is that we have demonstrable effects where we can measure physical changes in the properties of the water. We have Dr. Glenn Ryan, who we've been working with the past year, who's a brilliant scientist, recognized globally, doing in vitro work for us, who just gave me some fascinating results from some of his studies today. But maybe I'll mention if you get me in the mood for it before we end the call. But I mean, one thing that we see is that the light system that we're using is in fact changing the conductivity of the water over time. So this method is absolutely having an effect on the physical properties of the water. We have 7 clinical studies, called these, they're both pilot and double-blind studies on having individuals, we're now maybe at 300 people, have taken X2O in a clinical environment where we've done a variety of blood tests, urine tests, whole battery of different bioelectrical tests, EEG, thermography, heart rate variability, BioWell, BioPulsar, looking at how the human body responds immediately within 10, 15 seconds of drinking X2O. Whereas, of course, with a regular glass of distilled or spring water, that doesn't happen. So these effects are measurable. So with respect to the structure, what I would say is when I first started doing these experiments, I was utilizing a PEM fuel cell to convert water over into hydrogen and oxygen, and then reassemble the hydrogen and oxygen back into water in the presence of a catalyst using these very specific wavelengths of light arranged in a very specific geometry with the purpose of creating resonant domains between the bonds of the hydrogen and oxygen, so photons of light could get trapped in these bonds, so that once we would drink the water, the light gets released into the body. So the thinking was that if we know the methods, the wavelengths of light that will activate the mitochondria, trigger regeneration of the cell, most effective way to do that would be if we can get those wavelengths inside the body. And so light and water become a preferred method of healing, with water being a delivery system. Regarding the actual structure, I think there's some pretty good literature and practical experience to say that you can take water and change its structure in a variety of different ways, which would lead me to believe that it is in fact H2O. But I wouldn't say that's definitive. Maybe there's evidence to the contrary. But some of the things that I've seen in my own work is that the bond angle of water can change. Normally it resides about 109 degrees, but it can actually change to 114 degrees and take on different properties. There's also, many people on this call might be familiar that there's another form called electrically expanded water, which is HHO, and that form of water is a gas, and it actually combusts, but and releases its energy. But yet it's still a water vapor that's been electrically expanded. But water it's a fascinating material. I think you could probably study it your entire life and not understand completely all of its secrets.